What's up guys, Lifting here. In Ascendancy, the duelist can choose from 3 different subclasses: the destructive two-handed weapon focused Slayer, the agile one-handed weapon based Gladiator, and the tanky support focused Champion. In this video I will share a few build ideas with you revolving around these subclasses. The first build is a two-handed weapon based Infernal Blow Slayer. You start by picking up the notable Brutal Fervor for the extra life and attack speed while leeching, and then Impact. Impact basically grants you a level 1 free melee splash and 15% increased area of effect of the attack, which is perfect for Infernal Blow. To further increase the area of effect of Infernal Blow, you should also get yourself a Maroi Urki hammer. This hammer comes with a level 15 implicit increased area of effect gem, and by adding the 15% from the impact notable on top of this, you get 49% increased area of effect, which equates to a level 30 increased area of effect support gem. Since melee splash isn't required in your gem setup anymore, you can now instead add another support gem to further increase the damage. And this basically means you can get yourself an 8 link by using the Maroi Urki here. And lastly, you have the option of picking up Endless Hunger to prevent your leech from stopping once you reach full life, which works great with Brutal Fervor by the way. Or you can go Headsman, which will grant you more damage to targets on low life, but more importantly, a 20% chance to gain Onslaught for 3 seconds on kill, an effect that otherwise before only was obtainable via the use of axes or some less than optimal unique items. And in case you didn't know already, Onslaught grants you 20% increased attack, cast and movement speed, so pretty sick. The second build is a tanky Cyclone, one hand and shield, bleed based Gladiator. The idea revolves around the unique item Jack the Axe. This applies a guaranteed bleed effect to targets hit by this weapon. Together with the Gladiator's gratuitous violence notable, this will make killed enemies explode, dealing 20% of their total maximum life as physical damage to nearby enemies. Which is a lot, by the way. And I should probably explain, the way bleed works mechanically is that the bleed damage is based on the physical damage of the initial hit which caused the effect. It then deals 10% of that damage if the target is standing still, and 60% if the target is moving. And to make sure the enemies are moving so you deal the maximum amount of damage, you will need the Empire's Grasp gloves. And then link these to Cyclone and whatever other support gems you prefer for your setup. Due to the knockback is reversed affix of these gloves, you'll be dragging the enemies after you, which counts as them moving, thus adding 50% extra bleed damage to the monsters. And then whenever one of them dies, it will explode and destroy the remaining ones. Or well, at least that's the hope, you know. We haven't tested this yet. And to add to this, you should also pick Blood in the Eyes. This will make you take reduced damage against bleeding enemies, give you a 20% chance to maim your targets if they are bleeding, and an additional 25% increased damage against bleeding enemies. And since you're guaranteed to make the enemies bleed as long as you hit them, this is pretty sick, right? And of course, to scale the damage of bleed, you should also pick up the various bleed notables throughout the skill tree. Also, in case you don't know how the maim effect works, it's kinda like the opposite of Onslaught, but instead a debuff for your enemies, as it reduces their attack speed, cast and movement speed by 20% when affected by this, so it's pretty sick. And lastly, I would also recommend picking up Paintforge for more block chains and increased damage. The third and last build is a tanky Ground Slam support and group empowering champion. This idea revolves around first of all picking up the inspirational notable that grants you and your nearby allies extra damage and movement speed. Secondly, you'll be picking up Conqueror for the unique 10% chance to stun and a 6% reduced damage taken for 4 seconds after killing a taunted enemy. From Conqueror you also pick up Worthy Foe for that 20% increased chance of taunted monsters getting stunned and taking 15% increased damage from you and your entire party, so this is pretty sick. And the skill of choice for this build is Ground Slam, as it has great area of effect, it has a high chance to stun, and it gets 1.5% increased stun duration per 1 quality added to it. This also means that this build should be used together with a staff or a mace, and it can be done either as a more tanky one-handed and shield type build, or the more destructive two-handed weapon style approach. And basically this specialization makes you an invaluable team member, providing safety via taunting and stunning your enemies, and also indirectly increasing your entire party's DPS. The build is pretty open and there are multiple ways you could further specialize the support potential of the champion. You could focus on running multiple auras, or focusing on multi-cursing, or even generating charges and then spreading them via conduit. Turning the character into a color and then adding some magic find to the build is entirely viable as well. The point is that your party is going to love having you in the group. Anyway, that's some Slayer subclass build ideas for you guys to consider toying with in Ascendancy. If you have any cool ideas yourself, feel free to share them below. Make sure to subscribe for more Ascendancy content. Thank you for watching, and bros, do you even nerd?